Okay, Melbourne Airport, Terminal 4 parking. Just got here. Not a bad trip. 8:20 for a 10:45 flight. And heading to the terminal. Terminal 4 car park's a little further from the international terminal, but it saves me about $30 in parking over the 9 days. It's still cheaper to park here for 9 days than it is to get a taxi in either direction. Okay, the Melbourne Airport International Terminal. Hopelessly undersized for its needs, I think, but it gets the job done. So we're looking for Air India. And there are definitely times when you are grateful that you are flying business class. This would be one of them if you look at the queue for the economy class check-in. Okay, all checked in. Huge crowds here this morning, but we're off to departures, which has changed since last time I was here. Bit of a queue, which is unusual. Okay, through passport control and security, and off to the Air New Zealand lounge, which is the Star Alliance, one of the Star Alliance lounges here. Or it's the one Air India uses anyway. And the airline lounge is around here. So I've settled into the Air New Zealand lounge. So today's trip, I'm going all the way to Muscat, Oman. So Melbourne to Delhi to Muscat. And it's quite a long trip, and I said I'd only do it if I could go business class. And the cheapest business class airfare from Melbourne to Muscat is with Air India. So it's not a bad trip over. I've only got a 1 hour, 10 minutes transit, which actually makes me a bit nervous because that's not a lot of leeway. The downside is on the way home I've got an 11-hour transit, so I've booked myself into the transit hotel in Delhi airport, so we'll see what that's like. This is actually the second time I've done this trip in the last month. I did it for the first time a few weeks ago, but this time around I thought I'd do a trip report, so we'll see how it goes. So the Air New Zealand lounge is actually pretty good. It's got its own barista, so you can get a decent coffee, a simple but pretty good quality breakfast spread, eggs and beans, various yogurts and smoothies. And interestingly, this is the only lounge at Melbourne Airport which is right on the ground level. So you get a bit of an aspect of the workings of the airport while you're waiting. I mean, it does feel like you literally are in the basement, but you do get to see the airport workers preparing the aircraft and so on. Okay, so the flight's been called and we're on our way to gate 3. asked to stop filming by the crew at that point, so I took this shot of the seat a little later after I had sat in it, so that's why it looks a little messy. Well, we're pushing back. It's 10:50, so we're 5 minutes late. But that's not too bad. Okay, so I'm in seat 3J on the Air India flight, and it's an older style business class seat. My seatmate's gone to the bathroom, so I'm taking the opportunity to just review the seat a bit. So far I found out that the in-seat power doesn't work, which is a little annoying. The plane feels old, everything's very worn out. I can't read any of the symbols on the hand control for the in-flight video, so it's difficult to navigate that. But having said that, it's comfortable, and for the price, it's not a bad way to get to the Middle East from Melbourne. So we've made it to Delhi. 12 hours in the air exactly. Going to find my way to the transfer desk. And I think I've got about an hour and a half till my next flight. Well, about half an hour to get through transfer security, which is a bit of a nightmare, but we're through now. Well, I've made it to the Air India lounge in Delhi airport. My next flight is delayed 55 minutes, so I've got just under 2 hours until departure. So initially I was a bit worried about this transfer time, but my Melbourne flight arrived 20 to 30 minutes early. I've now got a 55-minute delay, so I've got a bit of time to kill here in the Air India lounge, which I have to say is one of the least impressive lounges I've ever been in, but it will do. I have managed to get a Kingfisher beer though, which is an improvement on the last time I was here when they only had water. So things are on the up at the Air India lounge in Delhi. So after my longer than expected stay in the Air India lounge, they've finally called the flight and we're off to board on our way to Muscat. Now I need to find gate 18. Well, I've made it to the gate. It was actually about 5 minutes from the lounge, and it turns out they called the flight in the lounge about 55 minutes before departure, so I don't think they're even going to board the plane for another half an hour. That's okay. I'll just kick back here. It's 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. in Melbourne, and my flight left Melbourne this morning at 10:30 a.m. So that would explain why I'm feeling pretty tired, and still got another sector to go. And having done this sector before, I know that business class on the Air India 737 is nothing to get excited about. Pretty basic seats. So I'm not sure if I'll get much sleep, but I'd really actually love to have a sleep. I'm ready for my sleep now, and I know I'm going to miss my sleep, and I'll probably get to the hotel in Muscat. It'll be about 5 a.m. Melbourne time, which is quite often when I wake up. So we'll see if I get any sleep in Muscat. Well, they just made a final call up at the upper level. We'll see if they're actually boarding the plane. Yes, looks promising. Very busy flight, which is good. So hopefully takeoff won't be too long. So the pre-flight drink options here are orange juice or buttermilk. I went for the orange juice, but buttermilk, interesting, uniquely Air India touch. And interestingly, after having had no menu from the Melbourne to Delhi flight, we were presented with a lovely printed menu on the Delhi to Muscat 2.5 hour flight. So we've pushed back at 7:45 exactly, which is interesting because the board said the flight had been delayed till 8:15, so just as well I got to the gate in a reasonable time.
20 minutes. Mobile phones and other small handheld electronic devices, including e-readers, may be used in flight mode. However, for your safety and the safety
So finally, here we are in Muscat, Oman. I think it's just before 5 a.m. Melbourne time, so it's been a long trip. Okay, finally through passport control. You can pay 9 Riyal and get the fast track, which was a good idea because there were at least 100 people in the queue. So 9 Omani Riyals, about 36 Australian dollars. And I got through in 10 minutes instead of what looked like an hour. Well, I've got through passport control and customs, and I'm now waiting outside the airport for my lift. And because I'm probably about 45 minutes later than I was expected, it appears that he may not have waited. So I might give him 5 more minutes and then I'll go and get a taxi.